war. War never changes. Hey everyone, and welcome to my review for Season 2, Episode 4 of Fallout on Amazon, The Demon in the Snow. And this was another fun episode, but for me a step down from the awesome history and lore-rich last episode. But on the plus side, they definitely advanced the story quite a bit. So let's get right into it with all the positives, starting with the opening scene of Cooper, Howard, and Charlie fighting on the front lines of the Sino-American War in Alaska. This was a great look into the fighting, first because we got to see the T-45 series power armor in action, including the many design flaws mentioned by Cooper and Bud Askins in Season 1, with its limited mobility and Charlie's suit barely able to function, and then got a rare glimpse at Chinese soldiers as they defeated Cooper and talked about how their government was working on their own version of the armor, right before they were attacked by a Deathclaw, which we know from the games, specifically the Fallout 2 Strategy Guide and Fallout 76, were genetically engineered before the Great War by the US government and possibly the Enclave, in the hopes of replacing humans during close combat search and destroy missions. Mutated from the Horn-Jackson chameleons, their physiology was later refined by the Master from Fallout 1, the leader of the Unity Army who was eventually defeated by the legendary Vault Dweller of Vault 13. Just from this scene, we already got nice shots of the Deathclaw, which looks absolutely amazing and completely terrifying. There was a lot of comedic moments in this episode too, like pretty much all the Thaddeus scenes. Watching him stumble around in power armor doing an absolutely terrible job of impersonating Harkness, but still not getting caught, which I think is largely because these Brotherhood chapters are full of idiots. It was also funny watching Lucy high on Buffout and talking to the NCR, with the convo getting a bit awkward when they mentioned Shady Sands, knowing that Lucy's father was responsible for its destruction. It was nice to see Lucy finally find some good-hearted people, and I wonder if under other circumstances she would have been more open to joining them in their mission. The ghouls seemed to really enjoy Lucy's decline and addiction, encouraging her to take more Buffout, as she no longer seems to be thinking straight, eagerly reasoning out that it was okay to take more chems, since it was for the greater good of stopping her father. Going into Vault 33, there was more comedy, with the Products of Inbreeding support group growing rapidly because they're offering extra snacks and water during a time of rationing and austerity. I was surprised Betty allowed it, no matter what she might have agreed to before, and I have a feeling that at some point she'll take more serious measures to stop it, just like she did with the prisoners in Season 1. One scene that I initially didn't enjoy too much was Norm with the junior executives from Vault 31. Not because there was anything wrong with the scene itself, but because as soon as I started I was instantly disappointed, as for me this storyline is the most boring one and I didn't want to waste screen time on them. That was until the introduction of Ronnie, Bud's former personal assistant, who instantly made things more interesting as he made a power play against Norm, making it clear he has a lot more info about Bud and Vault-Tech's mission. There's gonna be a showdown between them at some point. Although I wasn't the biggest fan of everything that happened with the Brotherhood this episode, I did enjoy the mention of Arthur Maxson as the leader of the Commonwealth, confirming that he survived the events of Fallout 4 and is still ruling over the Brotherhood in the East. I also liked watching the chapter leaders try to conspire against each other and start fighting, with a very cool shot of an airship going down in the background as Maximus and Thaddeus fled with cold fusion. As always, I love the music, but similar to hearing Big Iron in the first episode this season, I got really excited when Cocaine Blues started playing as Lucy Fought the Kings, since I have fond memories of this song as the Johnny Cash version was one of the first songs I learned when I started playing guitar many years ago. Moving on to my criticisms of the episode, there weren't too many, but I did find them quite irritating, starting with the continued idiocy of Maximus. It actually seemed like he was getting a bit smarter and more confident this season, but that wasn't the case this time, as he was going to kill Elder Cleric Quintus with no plan on what to do afterwards. Targeting Quintus actually may have been a good idea if he really wanted to make a power play, like using it as an opportunity to blame him for the death of Harkness, but he made it clear he had absolutely no plan whatsoever. And if that wasn't bad enough, he didn't even go through with it, not only failing to kill Quintus, but allowing him to grab a weapon and fire first. I know they're trying to portray him as a good person, but I couldn't help finding him equal parts brainless and spineless. There was another pretty glaring problem with the Brotherhood scenes this episode, and that was Squire Dane easily stealing Cold Fusion, which was left right out in the open, with no guards or safety measures to protect it. Very weird that they would leave it like that. And the last criticism is a pretty big one, but it wasn't because of anything in the episode itself, but rather the overall storyline, as I was very disappointed to see New Vegas deserted and abandoned. The scene itself at the end of the episode was pretty awesome because of the Deathclaw, which I'll get into later, but I find it sad that the fun, bustling city that we got to know in the New Vegas game is gone, and many of the major choices made by the Courier didn't make a lasting impact. But with that out of the way, let's move on to my top 5 moments, with number 5 being Chet finding Steph's pre-war Canadian/American ID in the false bottom of a drawer. This was interesting in many ways, as Chet looked shocked and scared to finally learn the truth about Stephanie, seeing in her ID that she is a pre-war Canadian but also American, as the US had a heavy presence in Western Canada during the Resource Wars, sending men and supplies to fight China in Alaska, which eventually prompted Canadian riots and mass protests in 2072, followed by the attempted bombing of the Alaskan oil pipeline. In response, the US annexed Canada, massacred dissenters, and stripped their lands of natural resources, which is why Steph's ID mentions the annexed territory of Canada. Moving on to the number 4 spot, I chose the end credits after the episode where they showed us the Battle of McCarran Airport, as at some point after the events of the New Vegas game, the Legion attacked the NCR and wiped out their forces in the area. Once an NCR stronghold, McCarran Airport along with Hoover Dam were given to them by Mr. House in the Treaty of New Vegas in exchange for 5% of the dam's energy output and the continued independence of the city. It's really fascinating to see that no matter what ending was chosen by the Courier in the game, the fighting went on, and every faction in the region was largely wiped out except for the Legion, which, although divided, seemed to rally their forces and remain somewhat formidable, possibly because of the influence of Caesar, who had an iron grip on the Empire before he died. For the third best moment, I went with the meeting at the Vaults 32 and 33 connection point, where we see Betty informing Steph that Vault 31's been abandoned and Bud Askins killed, with Betty making it clear she thinks Vault-Tec is gone and won't be coming to help them. With the experiment over, Betty thinks they need to work together to survive, but Steph claims she wants to go it alone, refusing to share their water with Vault 33, unless of course Betty can secure a keepsake of some kind Hank McLean brought to Vault 31, in which case Steph would be willing to trade water access for it. This was an intense and increasingly suspenseful scene, watching Steph's selfish, conniving nature emerge for Betty to see, sowing division between their vaults, with Woody Thomas overhearing part of the conversation. Very interested to see where this goes. At the number 2 spot, I chose Lucy's drugged up fight with the Kings outside New Vegas. It was great to see the Kings again, learning they survived the events of the New Vegas game, but pretty sad that they've turned into feral ghouls over the years, as they were one of my favorite factions from the game. It also makes me wonder who's in charge of Freeside now, as the Kings were formed after Mr. House took hold of New Vegas with the help of the Omertas, Chairman, and White Glove Society tribes. This alliance made the other tribes in the area flee or disband, and so the Kings formed to forge their own destiny and restore order in Freeside, just outside New Vegas, making the best of a bad situation while establishing their base in the King's School of Impersonations, which inspired their Elvis-themed name, clothes, and personalities. The battle itself was very fun, with a great song playing in the background, and it was funny seeing Lucy enjoy the bloodshed so much, with the ghoul just watching in amused approval. We even got to see Lucy kill the King himself, the leader of their gang, in his signature white suit jacket, using bats to shoot him in the head from behind. I also enjoyed Lucy's rant about no more side missions and detours, as it reminds me of the games when you have the option to take shortcuts to your destination so long as you're willing to fight the dangerous enemies blocking your way. Now for the best moment of the episode, I chose the final New Vegas scene where the Ghoul and Lucy came face to face with the Deathclaw. Like I said earlier, I was pretty disappointed to see the New Vegas from the game is really gone. But even so, the scene itself was quite good, with a largely accurate portrayal of the New Vegas Strip, seeing the Gomorrah, Ultra Lux, and Lucky 38 casinos along with several other locations in the background. And the Deathclaw itself looked scary and amazing. I loved watching the ghoul steadily grow more horrified as he sensed the radiation, saw Lucy with the egg, and heard the noises, all before the Deathclaw appeared. Very cool scene that brought back a lot of memories of hard-fought battles from the games, and I can't wait to see them try and fight it in the next episode. Now for the best kill of the night, I went with the Yosemite Brotherhood chapter leader stabbing the Coronado leader through the cheek when they discovered the Cold Fusion relic was missing. Just like the Grand Canyon leader, I was thoroughly impressed by this kill. As for the best line, I went with Lucy's response to the ghoul after their time with the NCR, saying that even though they seemed like good people, she wasn't planning on staying with them, as all I saw in there was more matching jackets. A great line and callback to the ghoul in the first episode of this season, when he spoke to the Khans, saying, "Yeah, woman behind the counter, her name was Darla. She was a reasonable woman till you matching jacket motherfuckers had to move in." A great sign Lucy's finally learning how to survive in the wasteland by becoming more like the ghoul. Overall, this was another good episode, but it definitely felt less exciting than last week as I really want to learn more about the Legion. So I'm gonna go with a decent score of 7 out of 10 this time, with the hopes the story starts to pick up more steam as we enter into the second half of the season. And that's it for my review of Fallout Season 2 Episode 4, The Demon in the Snow. But what did you all think? Did you like the look of the Deathclaw? How did you feel about learning New Vegas was empty and abandoned? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to check out my other Fallout videos like A History of Caesar's Legion, A History of the New California Republic, my Season 1 recap, and Prelude to Season 2, which includes a brief recap of Season 1, all of which will be linked in the comments below. I'll also be continuing these weekly reviews until the end of the season. So for now, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey everyone. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Sir Elendil of Numenor, Sir Loin, Werebear of the Great North, Sir Willem the Dawn Treader, and Average Soul the Healer. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.